back to the channel. It is your girl Alana Simone. First of all, I wanted to welcome you guys in. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. If you have been here for a while, welcome back. So I hope and pray that you guys had an amazing day today. Today we're going to be talking about facing difficulties in life and just how to overcome them. You know, one thing about life that we all know, okay, that a lot of times it can bring difficulties, and you know, we don't have all happy days all the time. We don't have all joyous days all the time, but some days can, you know, life can bring us difficulties, and that could be difficulties in our relationships, maybe with our parents or our friends. You know, we may be struggling with those relationships. We may be, you know, having a hard time with those relationships, maybe communicating with that person or persons, depending on the situation, or, you know, constant, like, just back and forth. And, you know, it's just so many things that I could really kind of describe it as. But, you know, when these difficulties come, we gotta, you know, have some strategies and tools to be able to figure out how to overcome them. Because, you know, we don't want to stay stuck. We don't want to stay like, let the difficulties overtake us. Like, we want to overtake the difficulties by combating it with some tools and things that can help us move forward and past those difficult situations in our life. So, you know, one thing that has always helped me, you know, when I face any type of difficulties in life, is just like evaluating the situation. You know, whether it's, you know, for example, if I experienced a difficulty, you know, when I was younger more and lived in the house with my parents, you know how that goes sometimes. You know, we get into a certain age, we think we grown and stuff like that, and you be and like, you know, but when you live under your parents' roof, most of the time, most parents have rules. They have, you know, things that they require you to do, and so you can't just do whatever you want. And sometimes, you know, we can get into a point where we don't understand fully, and what that ends up having us clash. And so difficulties are created in situations like that as we start getting older. Because why? It's something, I don't really think that we can escape it, because it's something that we have to work towards learning how to, you know, move forward when these things come. Because the thing is, things change. So when we were little, you know, we were more receptive of listening. I mean, unless you was a little bad kid, but but regardless, like, usually you would get it together, even if you was bad. Like, if your parents asked you to do something, you gonna do it, and if you didn't do it, I mean, you're gonna get in trouble, and then eventually you're gonna do it. Okay, so it's stuff like that. So when we were little, we had difficulties, but like, they were dealt with in a different way in order for us to move past it. You know, you may have gotten set in time out because you didn't listen, but because you got set in time out, now you got to, you know, reevaluate your life. And like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have threw the toy at my brother, you know, type stuff like that. So you sat for a little while and thought about your decisions, and then when you got up, you either, you know, move forward and made better decisions, or you did the same thing over again and got set down again to, you know, reevaluate your life again to now learn what you need to learn so you can move forward past that difficult situation. So, you know, as we start getting older, it's different stuff. Like, our parents can't necessarily put us in timeout. I mean, there may be some parents out here that do that, and that's, you know, that's different. If you got like, if you putting your like 17-year-old in a timeout, like, I don't really think nobody does that, but hey, everybody different. But it's like there's different things for different ages. So like, you know, you may get put on punishment. You may can't, you know, drive the car. You may can't go out with your friends for a night. It's stuff like that, you know, when things happen, when we get older, and like, you know, the way that our parents might handle us in that aspect. But when we face difficult situations, it's important to, you know, I think one thing that I've taken from it is sometimes it can be very frustrating. It can be very frustrating to want to listen at times, especially when you start getting older and you like, listen, like, you feel like you grown. Can't nobody tell you what to do. All my friends doing stuff. Billy, John, and Jane out here going to parties, living their life, and you sitting at home mad because you got to clean up clean up the bathroom or something like that, or you got in trouble because you didn't, clean up or something. It's stuff like that. And so you be mad, and then it kind of creates frustration within you, because it's like, then that causes people to want to start rebelling against their parents and just going out and sneaking out and doing stuff. And that's not a good thing to do, just because it can get you into more unnecessary trouble. So I wouldn't recommend that. But when times like this happen, it's like, how do we move past it? Difficult situation in our life is going to happen. And let's say you are a young adult, transitioning, you may be a teenager, or you are transitioning into young adulthood. It's kind of that awkward, phase that we go through, especially when you're living with your parents, because it's like, technically you still got to listen to what they say, because, you're supposed to honor your parents, so that your days may be made long on this earth, according to the Bible. But we want to make sure that, in our difficult and frustration moments that we have with our parents, that we're doing our part to be able to, do our best to listen. Like, we don't necessarily have to agree, but we don't have to be disrespectful, and we don't have to put up a fight. Like, yeah, we're not going to agree on everything. And sometimes your parents tell you stuff, and it's just like, you just want to mute them out and put earmuffs on, like, I ain't hear you say that type stuff. And let me tell you, like, I was there. Like, it's like, I wasn't that type of child that wanted to go out and party and all that stuff, but I did face difficult conversation with my parents sometimes with, when different things came up, on how I felt about different situations, and I had to learn how to move past it. In the moments, I felt very frustrated. In the moments, I felt, very, like, upset, because it's like, well, you're not trying to hear me. It's stuff like that. You feel like maybe you're not being heard, or it's not going your way. But when I sit back and, reflect, I'm like, okay, maybe this is why they don't want me to go to this party. Maybe this is why they don't want to let me hang out with this friend. Maybe this is why, they want me to stay home tonight, or, go to church on Sunday or something like that. Maybe this is why. And so I'm like, okay, when you realize that don't take everything as an attack, rather than, because I think sometimes we feel attacked, and when we don't, and that blocks us from being able to listen to what the person is saying. So we feel like we're being attacked because things aren't going our way, then we're not going to really be open to listening and reflecting and saying, okay, maybe, my parents is wanting me not to go because they can see that my friends aren't good influences in my life, and they don't want that for my life. Maybe my parents don't want me to go because, they just, maybe they heard from the Lord, because sometimes the Lord will speak to your parents, especially when we're not listening, and they felt like you were going to be put in danger, the night you wanted to go out, and so they asked you to stay home. And so it's stuff like that we don't even think about, because we get so caught up in wanting to be grown, not wanting to listen, and rebelling. And what happens is, unfortunately, people in their rebellion states, they go out and they sometimes, like, they just don't want to hear what their parents got to say and all that stuff, and they'll sneak out and do stuff, and then they get caught up, maybe in situations. They get caught in situations that are not the best. Sometimes, unfortunately, people even end up dead because of that. And that's not what we want. It's, we are, as young people, we have so much to live for. God has so much planned for each and every one of our lives, and his desire is for us to live long, prosperous lives. And so one thing is that requires that, and that he promises us, if we honor our mother and father, our days shall be made long on this earth. And so that's an important thing to uphold and stand by. We think it's not important, but it really is. Anything that God has spoken in the Bible is very important, because why? It matters, and everything that is spoken will come to pass. So whether it's, good or bad, there's going to be bad things, which is, in Revelations and stuff like that, a lot of that is going to come to pass. And then also good things out of that, because we'll be able to spend eternity with God, the one to accept him into our heart. So just be mindful. This is something I would just wanted to, just discuss, because, listen, when you grown and when you becoming a young adult, you get into certain ages, you don't want nobody to tell you nothing. And I get it. Listen, we all been there. We all done that, been there. I could write a book about it. But my recommendation is that you do your best to, even in situations where it's difficult, you choose to honor. One thing that I, just recently had communicated something with somebody who was having a really difficult time with their someone at work. I remembered something came to me that I shared with them, and I said, you know what, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, our response is our responsibility. Unfortunately, we can't control how people respond to us. We can't control what people say to us, what people do to us, but we can control what we do. We can control our actions. We can control our responses. And yes, it may, some people like fight against that because it may make them feel like they're weak or less than. But at the end of the day, you win when you overcome things like that, because you're now showing somebody something different. Most people won't turn the other cheek. Most people won't respond with kindness and in love. Most people won't listen. Most people won't honor their parents. Most people won't, live a life that's pleasing and honoring to God. So it's like, do something different. You can't do the same thing and expect different results. Like, if you keep on, running the same race and not changing nothing, you're not going to get a different result. So in order to get better results in life, we're going to have to do something different to get something out of that. And yes, it may be difficult and hard, and you probably clicking off right now because it's like, girl, don't tell me nothing. I'm gonna go out and party tonight and do what I want. But listen, the thing is, warning comes before destruction. And so I'm not saying if you decide to go out tonight or whatever, if that's what you're doing, like something bad is gonna happen. I'm not saying that at all, but you open yourselves up when you choose not to listen. You can open yourselves up to things that can come into your life that didn't have to be there, and so that's the only thing. My heart is to want to help people and to want to give people knowledge that can help them. It's your choice in order if you want to decide if you want to take this knowledge or not. I can't force it on you. I can't change your mind about stuff. I can't make you do something that you don't want to do, because why? You are free to make your decisions and choices for your life. But at the end of the day, you can't, like, when you know better, you should do better. But I can't make you do that for yourself. You have to want it for yourself. So know that people care about you, even when we go through moments where we are rebelling, where we don't want to listen to nobody, where we could care less about life and what anybody thinks, and we just want to do us and do whatever we want. Listen, that's fine. People do that. And some people make it to live to see the other side, and some people unfortunately don't. And one thing about it is you don't know what side you're going to come out on. So it's kind of just taking a chance with your life. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then that's your choice, and you have the choice to do that. But just know that you don't have to live life and make it hard. Like, you don't have to chance your life. Like, I just need people to know that you don't have to chance your life. It's like, sometimes it's just okay to listen, and it's okay to honor and respect, even when it's not like, it doesn't seem cool or like the coolest thing to do. Like, who cares? I would rather see somebody's life saved than them trying to have fun with their friends, and then the same friends they went out with, they all get drunk at a party and they leave the friend, and the friend ends up dead somewhere. I'm not trying to be so like negative, but things like this happen, and unfortunately not many people say much about it. So when things like this happen, people are like, oh my God, what happened? Johnny was such a good boy. I don't understand. And it's like, because nobody spoke up about it. Nobody, tried to help. And some people don't want to listen to their parents, but sometimes people will listen to somebody else. And so, as your peer, if you're young listening to this, I'm just encouraging you to make better decisions. I can't force you. I can't make you. I can't change your mind. Like I said, you're going to do what you want at the end of the day. You have a choice just like I have a choice. For my life, I choose to make better decisions because I value my life, and I know that God values my life. And I know that he has more for me. And, so I just choose to make better decisions, even when it's difficult, even when it's hard, even when it's not cool. Like, I don't care. I get to a point, when you get to a point where you don't need validation from people, you don't need a round of applause from people, you live a different life because you move differently and you realize, like, your life is more important than you think. And so I hope that, just like I recognize that, I hope and pray that you guys start to recognize that as well, because your life is more important than what you think. And yes, in this, season you may be in, or, age you may be in, it may not seem so important, but this is just like, we only touch the surface. God has so much planned for our lives, but sometimes it gets cut short, unfortunately. Especially, that's what's been happening for my generation, because we are in this like rebellious kick, and we don't want to listen to nobody, and we want to do all this stuff, and we just want to be free, and we want to do all this stuff, and we don't want to listen to nobody, but it's leading us to destruction. And I just don't want to continue to see my generation go down this path of destruction that the world has created for them. They make it seem like it's so pretty. They make it seem like it's like the best thing ever to not have rules, to not listen, to go off and do all these crazy things. But in the end, it only leads to destruction. So just know that, today and any day I encourage you to just make better choices. Even in difficult situations, this is how we overcome. We decide, we make a decision. It's making a decision that you want to do better. It's making a decision of realizing that your life is more important, and that you realize that, God values you, and he needs you to, start valuing yourself. Like, he already values you, and he already validates you. But it's up to you to accept that from him, so that you can take your life more seriously, so that you can be used by him to do great things. You know that God has so much great things in store for you. Not just me. Like, there's nothing like super special about me. I'm just a regular girl, okay? I'm a regular girl that just get on the screen and talk to y'all. But just like me, like, he has so much in store for me. He got the same things, well, different, but he got so much in store for you. And his heart's desires for each and every one of us to be able to see what he has in store for us, to be able to see what he wants to give us, what he wants to bless us with. And so in that, it comes with us being okay with obedience, and learning how to obey, and learning how to trust, and learning how to honor, even when it's difficult, even when we don't feel like it, even when it seems uncool. Who cares? Listen, I would rather see you living. I would rather see you one day married, if that's your desire. I would rather see you one day owning a business, being the next Jeff Bezos, being the next, who else? What's his name? Steve Jobs, being the next Steve Harvey. It's so many people that's so inspiring that you could be like the next them, or even better. But when we decide to take our life in our own hand, we don't even get to see what God saw all along in us. And that was so much more. So just think about it today. Like I said, it's your choice. It's your choice. I can't, make the decision for you. I can't force you to do something you don't want to do. Just like God won't do that. He's not going to force us to do anything we don't want to do. He can only bring forth knowledge to us. He can only bring forth recommendations, and he can give out his instructions through his word that he gives us and provides for each and every one of us freely. But he can't force you, and he can't make you. You have to make that decision for yourself. So today, I just pray that you can hear something different, you can think about something different, that you can start making better choices in your life, and just making better decisions, and in that really is what's going to help us move past difficult situations in our life and create a life, you know, less difficult. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying you're never going to face any difficult situation because they come up, but it'll get better. And I want your life to get better. So be encouraged today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.